Most of today's power grid was built in the 1960s and 70s. An estimated 70% of transmission lines are more than 25 years old. Now, lawmakers and utility groups are debating how best to update the infrastructure. The clock is ticking, though, with grid vulnerabilities already evident and another hot summer in the forecast.
We take it for granted in this country compared to the rest of the world that the lights come on every time you flip the switch, and it's pretty good, but we're seeing signs that it's starting to fray.
The North American Electric Reliability Corporation is warning of widespread blackouts this summer. 2/3 of the country have an elevated risk for potential for insufficient operations. It paints not a great picture.
No, it's really concerning because electricity is pretty critical to how we operate every minute of every day. And you got to be able to have the lights come on when you're counting on it. That's an expectation we have across this country. Unfortunately, certain policies are driving us in the wrong direction.
How do we solve that problem?
First step is the old saying, when you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. And we got to take the shovel away from the EPA. They're making decisions that are forcing the closure of power plants, and yet we're not replacing that generating capacity with additional plants. It's really hard to build something in this country these days. So we're at a point where we're reducing supply, and public policy in terms of the permitting world doesn't allow us to build new resources.
The former Utah Democratic representative believes additional funding is needed for grid improvements. Was there any electrical grid improvements in the infrastructure bill?
Well, there's a lot of money for some resilience, and resilience is where you're hardening the grid to allow it to survive more extreme weather events.
The Biden administration says billions from the infrastructure law would be dedicated updating the grid and upgrading transmission lines with an emphasis on clean energy. But industry leaders say some regulations are making it difficult to get those projects up and running. So what does the building behind me have to do to help get to that?
Well, the first thing they could do, and I hear a lot of conversation on Capitol Hill these days, is we need to reform our environmental permitting process in this country. And my gosh, Congress passed the National Environmental Policy Act decades ago. They haven't ever reformed it. It's a mess today. It takes forever to permit a project.
Recent negotiations to raise the debt limit have included permitting reforms for some energy projects, but some Republicans believe more needs to be done.
Every financial impact on the utility goes straight to the consumer's electric bill. Not only are we concerned about reliability, as we've been talking about, we're concerned about affordability as well.
Lawmakers from both parties agree addressing the risks are crucial for this summer and well into the future. Are we facing more brownouts, blackouts this summer?
I don't want to sound like an alarmist that everything's going to happen all at once, but the trend continues to move in a direction of greater risk of outages every year.